The older I've gotten, the more I've loved Christmas, especially just the aura that Christmas brings, and the way it makes people feel genuinely is one of my favorite things about this whole season, is just the way everyone seems to be a little bit more cheery, a little bit more merry, if you will, in a lot of cases, not every case, and definitely there's a very crazy side of Christmas time. However, I also really love the Christmas movies that are on around this time of year. And I wanted to talk to you today about some of my favorite movies that are related to Christmas in some way or the other. So, without much further ado, let's just take a look at some of my favorite conventional and unconventional Christmas movies to watch around this time of year. First, we'll go the unconventional route because why not? But one of my must-watches around this time is Black Christmas. Most of the time the original, but sometimes the early 2000s version of the film. Definitely got its problems, but it's an interesting remake, I guess. Kind of. It's different. Okay, anyways, the first movie is really one of the earliest slasher films kind of like this. It's kind of directly inspired Halloween. Basically, it follows this sorority house that keeps getting all these kind of crank phone calls that sound really horrifying. They're like scary pig noises and stuff. It is very genuinely very scary. And the entire house for this is like a kind of a bigger house. It's very interesting. It's one of the most interesting sets for a movie like this ever. It's always one of those movies that I find myself kind of coming back to, regardless of what the year has brought and what other movies have come out. I think a lot of it honestly has to do with this. There's this one transition they do. You see the whole house decorated with Christmas lights and all that stuff, and it just really makes it really cool and interesting looking. And this movie is really one of the most interesting ways to kind of get into the Christmas mood if you like horror movies the way I do. The next film was actually the Christmas Day video last year. I probably won't have a Christmas Day video this year because it fell on one of the 2 days that I produce videos. I talked about Rare Exports, which is a really incredible movie and one of my favorite movies to watch around this time of year because it takes the legend of Santa Claus to a really cool and kind of scary place without being really cheesy in any way. It really plays into like the Krampus aspect of Christmas, and it's not really something a lot of movies talk about, especially in the way they did it. They made Krampus like actually really scary, which is really cool. I'm gonna tell you some of the plots, but I'm not gonna spoil too much. Basically, there's some mining going on, and they accidentally expose where Krampus or Santa Claus is, and a bunch of his elves actually they're fully grown men, but they're tall men. They steal people's radiators and ovens to unmelt Krampus, basically trying to thaw him from the ice that he's like been kept in. And that is probably about as far as I will go, but I want to tell you this movie is really, it's both in English, I think it's Swedish, I might be wrong, but it's really a good movie, and it is incredible, and it's 100% worth watching. Now we get to the more conventional means for two of my favorite Christmas movies. First, we have to go to the absolute classic that is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is by far one of my favorite comedy Christmas movies of all time. If you have no clue what this movie is about, I'll kind of clue you in. It's about all of the classic Christmas stuff, getting the tree, the Christmas bonus, Tylenol, the weird food, the relatives, all that stuff, and a bunch more that I don't want to really get into because it spoils a lot of it, but it is honestly one of my favorite movies to watch around this time of year. If you are looking for a good Christmas comedy, it is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. There are moments in it that aren't suitable for children. Well, I mean, they're not like super bad, and I've watched a lot of them, but there's some weird moments to watch with your family, if that makes sense. But otherwise, other than that, it is a very incredible film, and it's one of my favorite Christmas movies to watch around this time of year. The next film I have is one of the films that I don't think anyone ever denies as being like a great classic Christmas movie, but I also think people don't actually appreciate it as much as it should be. That movie would be It's a Wonderful Life. This is one of those movies that I think more people would probably classify as like in the top 100 films of all time if it wasn't highly labeled as a Christmas movie. I think people overlook it because it's so heavily like influenced around the time of Christmas. But the movie is just about appreciating life, kind of seeing what life is like, and it's just about life really entirely. It just has the preset of being told around Christmas. It is a movie that is so much better than what you possibly could know about. It's a cinephile's Christmas movie, really. I never saw it until last year, and I never knew how good it was because it seems so cheesy by the poster and everyone you hear about it all the time. It seems cheesy. It really does sound very cheesy. Well, honestly, it wasn't at all. I didn't see it until last year, and I did not realize how much I liked it, and it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. Thank you for watching. You can follow us at MediaByteCo on TikTok and at MediaByte Company on Instagram. We're on Patreon. Ad-free podcasts are on there. Speaking of podcasts, listen to all the podcasts on the MediaByte Podcast Network. Slash It is for horror, exploring cinemas for all movies that are not horror movies. Diary of an Indie Filmmaker for filmmaking stuff. And yeah, so thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.